Welcome. Today we are looking at transport mechanisms in the cell. This is a key topic in your biology exams for SS1. Pay close attention. Let us begin. First, let me explain what transport mechanisms are. Transport mechanisms are the processes by which substances move into and out of cells. Cells need to take in nutrients and oxygen. They need to remove waste products. The cell membrane controls what enters and leaves. It is selectively permeable. It allows some substances to pass through. It prevents others from passing through. There are several transport mechanisms: diffusion, osmosis, active transport, plasmolysis, and turgidity. Understanding these mechanisms is essential for understanding how cells function. They are fundamental to biology. Now, let me explain the structure of the cell membrane. The cell membrane is a thin layer that surrounds the cell. It is made of phospholipids and proteins. The phospholipids form a bilayer. The hydrophilic heads face outward. The hydrophobic tails face inward. Proteins are embedded in the membrane. Some proteins form channels. Others act as carriers. The cell membrane is selectively permeable. It allows small, non-polar molecules to pass through. It prevents large, polar molecules from passing through. The cell membrane is also fluid. It is constantly moving. This allows the cell to change shape. It allows substances to be transported. The structure of the cell membrane is essential for transport mechanisms. Now, let me explain diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of particles from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. It is a passive process. It does not require energy. Particles move down the concentration gradient. They continue until equilibrium is reached. Diffusion occurs in gases, liquids, and solids. It is faster at higher temperatures. It is faster when the concentration gradient is steep. Examples of diffusion include the smell of perfume spreading across a room. The perfume molecules diffuse through the air. Oxygen diffuses from the lungs into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses from the blood into the lungs. Diffusion is essential for life. It allows gases to be exchanged. It allows nutrients to be absorbed. It allows waste products to be removed. Now, let me explain osmosis. Osmosis is a special type of diffusion. It is the movement of water molecules from an area of higher water concentration to an area of lower water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. Water moves from a dilute solution to a concentrated solution. It continues until the concentrations are equal. Osmosis is a passive process. It does not require energy. It is driven by the water potential gradient. Water moves from high water potential to low water potential. Osmosis is essential for cells. It maintains the water balance. It controls turgidity. It's involved in the absorption of water by roots. It is involved in the movement of water in plants. Now, let me explain the terms related to osmosis. There are 3 terms you need to know: isotonic solution, hypotonic solution, and hypertonic solution. An isotonic solution has the same concentration as the cell. There is no net movement of water. The cell remains the same size. A hypotonic solution has a lower concentration than the cell. Water enters the cell. The cell swells. In plant cells, this creates turgidity. In animal cells, this can cause the cell to burst. A hypertonic solution has a higher concentration than the cell. Water leaves the cell. The cell shrinks. In plant cells, this causes plasmolysis. In animal cells, this causes crenation. Understanding these terms is essential for understanding osmosis. Now, let me explain turgidity. Turgidity is the state of being swollen or rigid. It occurs in plant cells when water enters the cell by osmosis. The cell becomes turgid. The cell wall prevents the cell from bursting. Turgidity provides support for plants. It keeps the plant upright. It keeps the leaves firm. When plants lose water, they lose turgidity. They become flaccid. This causes wilting. Turgidity is essential for plant growth. It is also important for the opening and closing of stomata. Guard cells become turgid to open the stomata. They become flaccid to close the stomata. Turgidity is a key concept in plant biology. Now let me explain plasmolysis. Plasmolysis is the shrinkage of the cytoplasm away from the cell wall. It occurs in plant cells when water leaves the cell by osmosis. The cell is placed in a hypertonic solution. Water leaves the cell. The cytoplasm shrinks. The cell membrane pulls away from the cell wall. The cell becomes flaccid. Plasmolysis can be reversed. When the cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, water enters the cell. The cytoplasm expands. The cell becomes turgid again. Plasmolysis is important for understanding osmosis. It is also important for preserving food. Salt and sugar are used to create hypertonic solutions. They cause plasmolysis in bacteria. This prevents spoilage. Now let me explain active transport. Active transport is the movement of particles from an area of lower concentration to an area of higher concentration. It is the opposite of diffusion. It requires energy. The energy is provided by ATP. Carrier proteins are involved. They pump particles against the concentration gradient. Active transport is used to absorb minerals by roots. It is used to absorb glucose in the small intestine. It is used to remove sodium from cells. Active transport is essential for life. It allows cells to accumulate substances. It allows cells to maintain concentration gradients. It is a vital process in all living things. Now, let me explain the differences between diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. This is very important for your exam. Diffusion is the movement of particles from high to low concentration. It does not require energy. It does not require a membrane. Osmosis is the movement of water from high to low water concentration. It does not require energy. It requires a selectively permeable membrane. Active transport is the movement of particles from low to high concentration. It requires energy. It requires carrier proteins. Diffusion and osmosis are passive processes. Active transport is an active process. Diffusion and osmosis occur down the concentration gradient. Active transport occurs against the concentration gradient. These differences are essential for understanding cell transport. Now, let me explain the importance of transport mechanisms. Transport mechanisms are essential for life. They allow cells to obtain nutrients. They allow cells to remove waste. They maintain the water balance. They maintain the pH balance. They allow cells to communicate. They allow cells to respond to changes. Without transport mechanisms, cells would die. Diffusion allows gas exchange. Osmosis maintains water balance. Active transport allows the uptake of minerals. Turgidity provides support for plants. Plasmolysis is used in food preservation. Transport mechanisms are fundamental to biology. They are essential for the survival of all living things. Now, let me give you examples of transport mechanisms in living things. In plants, water is absorbed by roots by osmosis. Minerals are absorbed by active transport. Water moves up the plant by transpiration. In animals, oxygen diffuses into the blood. Carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood. Glucose is absorbed in the small intestine by active transport. Sodium is removed from cells by active transport. Water is reabsorbed in the kidneys by osmosis. These processes are essential for life. They maintain homeostasis. They keep the body functioning properly. Now, let me explain the factors affecting diffusion and osmosis. Several factors affect the rate of diffusion and osmosis. The concentration gradient is important. A steeper gradient increases the rate. The temperature is important. Higher temperatures increase the rate. The surface area is important. A larger surface area increases the rate. The distance is important. A shorter distance increases the rate. The size of the particles is important. Smaller particles diffuse faster. The nature of the membrane is important. A more permeable membrane increases the rate. These factors are important for understanding transport mechanisms. A common exam question asks you to distinguish between diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Here is a sample answer. Diffusion is the movement of particles from high to low concentration. It does not require energy. It does not require a membrane. Osmosis is the movement of water from high to low water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. It does not require energy. Active transport is the movement of particles from low to high concentration. It requires energy. It requires carrier proteins. Another exam question asks you to explain osmosis and its importance in plants. Here is your answer. Osmosis is the movement of water from an area of higher water concentration to an area of lower water concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. It is important in plants for water absorption, turgidity, and support. It also controls the opening and closing of stomata. Another exam question asks you to define plasmolysis and explain its causes. Here is your answer. Plasmolysis is the shrinkage of the cytoplasm away from the cell wall. It occurs when a plant cell is placed in a hypertonic solution. Water leaves the cell by osmosis. The cell becomes flaccid. Plasmolysis can be reversed by placing the cell in a hypotonic solution. Let me give you a quick summary. Transport mechanisms move substances into and out of cells. Diffusion is the movement of particles from high to low concentration. Osmosis is the movement of water through a selectively permeable membrane. Active transport moves particles from low to high concentration using energy. Turgidity is the swelling of plant cells due to water entry. Plasmolysis is the shrinkage of plant cells due to water loss. These mechanisms are essential for life. Practice these concepts. When you have them down, move to topic 7.